My truck came with an ugly chrome bumper, and it also hung way too low for off-road. So in this video, we will transform it into something much more good-looking and functional. I will show you how I did everything at home and all the lessons learned along the way. It has been 6 months since I finished this project, so at the end of this video, I will also share how everything held up through on and off-road use. Alright, let's get started. Now you might wonder, why didn't I simply get a high clearance aftermarket bumper? The thing is, trucks from the 2000s tend to have big smooth body lines, so most aftermarket bumpers just look kinda out of place. Most of them also stick out much further than stock, which I didn't like. A common alternative is trimming the factory bumper. The Toyota's guy called it a viper cut. It didn't look bad from the front, but once we turned to the side, it looked pretty unfinished. So to create my dream bumper, I decided to pull off an advanced viper cut, which consists of 3 major steps. First, I will start with a traditional viper cut, but with one caveat that I will explain in a minute. Second, I will cover up this cut and somehow recreate that corner radius that matched the factory lines. And third, I need to give it a paint-matched finish so that it looked as if it came straight from the factory. The challenge was, I never done any of these before, nor could I find any examples online. So I bought a junkyard bumper for 20 bucks just to try things out. First, let's start with the cut. I marked the bottom of my cut as far in as possible, but still retained the inner mounting bolt for structure. The midpoint was set by the factory fog light. The caveat here is that we must keep the entire cut on one single plane, so that we could later cap it with a flat plate. So make sure you measure twice and cut once. It later occurred to me that a laser level would have made this step a lot easier, so a lesson learned. After removing a big chunk from the shell, I trimmed the inner support bracket so that everything was tucked behind. At this point, we should end up with 2 big corners that match up all the way around. They should also sit flat on the table, which means we successfully kept our cut on one single plane. Now, here comes the most uncertain part of this project. How do I cover this back up and create that factory radius? My plan was to make a filler plate out of steel, weld the inside corner, and simply grind the outside to shape that radius. But here's the issue. The stamped bumper shell was only 60 thou thin, but it had a half-inch corner radius. So to match the look, I needed a lot of grinding, which would easily blow through. Obviously, I could put on more weld, but that would be a lot of heat for 60 thou, and could easily distort the entire shell. At this point, I have enough analysis paralysis, so there is only one way to find out. To make the filler plate, I traced the outline onto a piece of paper, scanned it into CAD, and had them laser cut by SandCut Sand. I ordered the plates in thicker 100 thou material, hoping to make welding and grinding a little easier. The funny thing was, ordering these 2 plates from SandCut Sand were actually cheaper than buying a small sheet in raw material. The filler plates made a pretty seamless fit. Again, if we didn't keep our cut on one single plane, the filler plate would have taken up some 3-dimensional shape, which would be a lot harder to fit. To prepare for welding, I ground off the chrome plating around the edges. The internet also told me that welding around chrome generates hexavalent chromium that might cause cancer. So I put on a respirator just in case. I had done a handful of welding projects before, but I had 0 experience with something this thin. So to minimize heat, I welded the seam with a series of tacks instead of a continuous bead. I also skip around to even things out. Boy, I was stacking dimes. The tack welds also appeared to penetrate all the way through, so I started to feel pretty good. I finished welding the rest of this edge using the exact same method. Overall, I was pretty happy with the welds. But wait, I forgot to put on my respirator. Well, I hope this project didn't give me cancer. The face of the weld turned out to be about a 1/4 inch wide. which in theory should be enough for our half-inch radius. So I started grinding with the 60 grit flap disc. There wasn't really any method to this madness, because there was no way to measure the thickness. I just kept grinding, filling it by hand, and hoped that I didn't see light coming through the other side. After some rough shaping, I switched to an orbital sander with 100 grit sandpaper. This was far less aggressive than the angle grinder and made a huge difference in smoothness. After the sanding, it looked absolutely OEM. Honestly, I was surprised by how well everything progressed thus far. So I tackled the second side with much greater speed and confidence. And I ground a hole through the radius. Shit. At this point, I was exhausted from grinding all night, so I didn't feel the process patching this hole. But it was not pretty. Although the hole was small, the area around it was super thin, so I had to slowly build my way in. Now, you might wonder, does this mean the rest of this edge was all paper thin? Actually, no. It later occurred to me that as the angle of this corner opens up, the same radius removes much less material. On this bumper, the corner was only 90 degrees right in the middle, which was exactly where we blew through. In all other areas, we should have plenty of material. By the way, since I was using laser cut, I added these tabs thinking I may bend them up and use them to mount some stuff in the bumper. But I ended up just cutting them off. Now that we successfully recreated the factory radius, there is one big question we need to answer. Did all that welding distorted the bumper? Well, there was only one way to find out. Oh crap, it no longer fits. Fortunately, it was just hitting the support brackets. After trimming those more, the Viper Cut bumper slid right on. To my surprise, all the bolt holes and body lines still lined up perfectly. I think that consecutive tack weld technique really helped with heat. So if I were to do this again, I would preemptively add a few extra tacks in the middle. Basically this, but before it gets ugly. So far, everything worked out much smoother than I expected. But it was at this moment I realized I made a big mistake that will cost hours to correct. But before we dive into that, I want to thank Onyx Off-Road for sponsoring this video. I've been using Onyx maps years before they became a sponsor. Whether it was finding challenging stuff at off-road parks, finding dispersed campsite in national forest, or just making sure I don't accidentally trespass private lands, Onyx Off-Road makes four-wheeling much more enjoyable and stress-free. Of course, you can do everything offline, but if you really need to find cell signals, Onyx will show you the way as well. You can try Onyx Off-Road free for 7 days, and if you like it, use code Tinkerer or the link below for 20% off. I would like to thank Onyx for supporting our adventure. I was in my flow state, welding and grinding those corners, but I accidentally finished everything on the practice bumper, which I bought from a junkyard for 20 bucks. And it was 20 bucks for a reason. So before we move on to our paint match finish, we have to do some bodywork restoration. The first thing to fix was this big dent up front. After watching many dent removal videos, I bought a set of hammer and dolly from Harbor Freight. It removed part of it, but the issue was this bumper was much thicker than typical body panels, so conventional techniques did not work. That's why I switched to unconventional techniques. It actually turned out pretty good. The second thing I had to address was the rust. I tried to sand the whole bumper clean, but the chrome plating was way harder than I expected. I couldn't tell whether I ground it down to bare steel or it was still chrome with a layer of rust underneath. So it was time for some heavy artilleries. This was Blasco in Quakertown, Pennsylvania. They do heavy-duty blasting and industrial rust proofing. I ordered a deep media blast followed by a thick coat of zinc-rich epoxy primer. Everything cost me 160 bucks, which I believe is worth every penny. I had the same primer on my FJ bumper. 4 years ago, I scratched a few spots down to bare steel. But after 4 years, rust only formed within those bare spots. It could not spread underneath. So zinc-rich epoxy primer is the stuff you want. The blast coat treatment really unveiled all the pitted areas under the chrome, as well as some porosity in my amateur welds. So I mixed up some body filler to smooth everything out. And now, this bumper is ready for a professional backyard paint job. I had a Harbor Freight portable garage for storage, so I turned it into a makeshift paint booth. After a thorough cleaning, I first sprayed the body filler spots with another layer of primer. While that was drying, I painted the inside surfaces black because that could better hide my ugly mistakes. Blastco told me that I could simply paint directly on top of their epoxy primer, with no scuffing or sealing. And finally, it's time for the color matching. Doing this at home is actually easier than most people think. There are several shops online that sell custom-made OEM color aerosols, and all they need is your factory color code. Before this bumper, I color matched my grille using aerosols from Automotive Touch-Up. The color turned out pretty much spot on, including the subtle pearl finish, but the can just never sprayed well from the beginning. It just kept sputtering, even with a brand new nozzle. So this time, I ordered the more expensive Spray Max brand from 66 Auto Color, and it sprayed much better. The Spray Max stuff also featured a prominent skeleton logo, which I assume stands for better durability. For the color base coats, the key is to start light, then do multiple light to medium coats for an even coverage. For this bumper, I sprayed 4 to 5 coats and used 3 cans in total. At this point, it will look nothing like the factory paint job, because we're still missing the clear coat. When I did my grille, I simply ordered the default clear coat as a package, but I later learned that this clear was lacquer based. It was easier to work with, but not as durable. For maximum durability, we want 2K polyurethane. So once again, I got the good stuff with the skeleton. The 2K means 2 components. We actually had to activate the paint by puncturing the seal and mix it up with the hardener inside. In fact, in addition to the skeleton in extreme danger, the clear coat came with another label warning against isocyanides. I already got hit by hexavalent chromium during welding, so I also put on a face shield for extra protection. Not sure how much it actually helped, but I hope this project didn't give me cancer. Similar to the colored base coat, I started out with a light first coat, then followed by a medium second coat. But unlike the base coat, the last coat of the clear have to be wet to develop a high gloss finish. Here you can really witness that deep shine emerging and the color popping in this final coat. At this point, I still have a little paint left in my second can. But once activated, 2K paint will expire after 48 hours. This was pretty expensive stuff, so I decided to shoot them all onto the bumper. And of course, a few spots started to run. So learn my lessons and don't feel bad about leftovers. Spray Max says the 2K clear should be assembly ready in 24 hours. Meanwhile, I refinished the faded center valence and fog light trims. For plastics, instead of primer, I hit them with 1 coat of adhesion promoter, which was left over from my grill project. I then sprayed 3 to 4 coats of SEM trim black because the review says it had the best OEM finish. Some areas were awkward to spray evenly, but this paint was very forgiving and turned out pretty good. By the way, I will leave links to everything I used in the description below. And finally, the moment we have been waiting for. People call the early 2nd gen Tundra one of the ugliest truck ever made. But after some TLC, my 2nd gen was completely transformed. I couldn't be happier with how this corner radius and paint match finish turned out. My truck gained so much clearance over stock, but it still maintained that subtle OEM look. And the crazy part was, this dream bumper of mine actually started its life as a $20 scrap from the junkyard. So if any of you are thinking about the advanced Viper cut, all I have to say is,
just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams.
it's been 6 months since I finished this project. It did get a few rock chips on the highway, a big scratch from off-road, and road salt exposure from one northeast winter. But so far, there was zero rust or paint peeling. And most importantly, I was able to take on much harder obstacles, which previously I couldn't even put tires on. If you want to see more off-road footage of my short wheelbase Tundra, go watch this video. Thank you for watching, I will see you in the next one.